Welcome to the Crossing Church's weekly service. My name is Josh Carmen and I'm the student pastor here. Thank you so much for watching and participating in this week's service. You know, the Crossing is the place where people go to explore faith and experience the life-changing ways of Jesus. So when you're ready to connect on a new level with the Crossing, or if there's anything we can help you with, please send us an email at info@thecrossing.com. We're in this series called Lemons to Lemonade, where we've been talking about how to take the lemons that we've been handed and make something great out of them. And I'm personally excited for today because you're going to have the opportunity to participate in making a difference in the life of 500 elementary school students. Because today, the area of life we are focusing on making lemonade in is our finances. You see, money is already a difficult topic to talk about, and now with literally everything changing in 2020, it is a good idea to take another look at the guidance that the Bible gives on how to manage our money well, no matter our circumstances. So stick with us for the service. We're going to get right to it. Lemons to lemonade in the areas we need it most.
Hey Crossing family, Kimi here, and I wanted to share one of our team's favorite Lemons to Lemonade stories. Well, it all started when a man named Michelangelo Mosquedo's video on TikTok went viral, when his family just wanted to share some love by helping out an elderly paleta man. They bought all of his paletas, all of his popsicles, so that he, on Father's Day, could go home and rest with his family. Take a look at this video. It's so sweet. You can see how shocked and touched Don Rosario was by this gesture. Well, after that video went viral, Michelangelo decided that he wanted to start a GoFundMe page in hopes of helping Don Rosario be able to retire someday soon. Well, before he knew it, that GoFundMe page had reached well past the $10,000 range, and now they are way over $37,000. It's so amazing. And on top of that, here's a video of Don Rosario himself just thanking everyone for their generosity in his own words. Check it out.
Señores y señoras, muchísimas gracias. La nobleza, la grandeza que tienen ustedes. Yo no merezco nada. No sé cómo explicarme su noble corazón y todo lo que han hecho por mí y todo lo que me ha pasado. Nunca, ni con mi vida les puedo pagar. Jamás en mi vida, solamente pues que Dios les pague.
Guys, we just love this story. This is taking lemons and making lemonade. This is making a difference.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Andrew. I'm the lead pastor here at the Crossing Church here in Costa Mesa, and I am so glad you're joining with us, especially if you are brand new, if this is your first or second time watching our church online. We are in this series. We're calling it Lemons into Lemonade, and we're talking about the difficult things in life and how God wants to bring something good out of them. And today, I am really excited about our topic. Today, we are going to talk about money. Now, hold on. Before you choose to switch over to Disney Plus or Netflix, hang with me for just a minute. I know, very few of us like talking about money. And if you grew up in church or used to go to a church, you may even have some baggage around how that church talked about money. And so that may all be true, but here's what I do know. I do know that while most of us, while we hate talking about money, we sure do think about money a lot. In fact, in a recent work by sociologists, they found that approximately 80% of our time awake is spent thinking about money. I mean, think about that number. 80% of our day, we are thinking about earning money, spending money. We even fantasize about winning money. I mean, you do that too, right? I'm not the only one. I'm guessing all of us have had that thought. What would I do if I won $1 million? In fact, right now in the comments on YouTube or Facebook, why don't you just share one thing you would do if you won $1 million? Getting ready for this message, I was thinking a little bit about that question, and I realized the older I get, the more boring my response gets to that question, what would I do with $1 million? When I was in my early 20s, I probably would have said something like travel the world or do something fun and extravagant like that. But now I think about, if I were to have $1 million, I would, help fund my kids' college tuition. I would pay down my mortgage. I mean, those are boring things, but take a second, share those, and you can multitask. Because here's what I know, is I know money occupies a key place in our thoughts and in our lives. We think about money a lot. And in fact, many of us, if we got really honest with each other, we would also say we don't just think about money, we also stress and worry about money. In fact, way back in January, I shared some stats with you around as a society, our relationship with money. Now again, these are stats for the entire US, but back in January, I shared that 12% of Americans, 12% don't have 1 week's living expenses saved up. Meaning that if they were to lose their jobs, they would run out of money in less than 7 days. 70% of people surveyed self-reported that they overspent this past year, which means they dipped into their retirement funds or increased their credit card debt. 50% of married people claimed that their most frequent arguments centered on money and finances. 30% of divorces claimed that finances were the primary reason, and then last, 74% of us are not saving enough for retirement. Now, this was way back when we had never even heard of this lemon called COVID-19. And so if we were stressed about money way back in January, it makes sense that today, with all that's going on in our world, money is something we need to talk about. And so today, as we continue our series, Lemons into Lemonade, I want to talk about our relationship with money. And I want to use this parable in the Bible. Now, if you're newer to church or to the Bible, here's what a parable is. A parable is a made-up story that communicates a very real truth. And the parable we're going to be looking at is found in Luke 12. So if you have a Bible near you, I want to encourage you to open it up. You can even use our app, a free download on Google Play, iTunes. And you see our story, it picks up with Jesus. One day, Jesus has this crowd around him, and he gets asked this question, and he responds with the parable we're going to look at. It's in Luke 12, verse 16, and here's how the story starts. Jesus says, the ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. Now, let's just pause there for 1 second. See, our story begins with this rich guy who has this amazing run in his business. It just takes off. And he hits this unprecedented level of success. Now, this guy, he makes a strategic decision in verse 17. It says, he thought to himself, what shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. Then he said, this is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones. Then I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. You see, this guy, he decides, I have enough right now that I can retire, that I can sit back, I can eat, drink, and be merry. You see, right here, for many people, this is called living the dream. You know, to reach that point in life where money is no longer something you have to worry about, where you can travel, where you can sit back and take it easy. So in our world, it's the same as back then. This guy's life would have been seen as a huge success story. I mean, he has made a name for himself. He's probably the type of guy you would seek out advice from when it comes to your finances. He's someone you would see speaking at conferences. You'd probably follow him on Twitter. And yet, in the very next verse, God comes to this rich man. Verse 20 says, "But God said to him, 'You fool.'" Now, the Bible was originally written in Greek. And so what you need to know is that what we read is a translation of this Greek. And so this word fool, it actually comes from the Greek word aphrone, which is a very fun word to say. In fact, you can say it right now in your home with me, aphrone. Even as you say it, it even sounds like an insult, doesn't it? And this word aphrone, it carries the idea of someone who is ignorant, someone who is stupid and foolish. Now, if you're new to the Bible, you should know, God doesn't really go around calling people ignorant fools very often. So whenever he does, we should probably pay attention to why. And you see, what's going on here is that this rich, smart, successful guy, he has been going through his life and he has made one tragic mistake. He has gone through his life believing my money is for me. I mean, he's gone through life believing my fields, my crops, my money, my barns, all I have, all of it's for me. And while he'd probably never say the words out loud, this is how he operated day in and day out. And you see this view of money, that my money is for me, it's just as popular today as it was way back then. Let me show you. I mean, think about, what do you do when you get a little bit of money? Really, there are only 3 things you and I can do with money. First thing we can do is we can spend it, right? You can pay your rent. You can buy groceries. You can get a new iPhone. You can go shopping at Home Depot or buy some clothes. Most of us, we're pretty good at spending money, aren't we? Second thing you can do with money is you can save it. You can put it in a bank or put it in the stock market or in a 401k. And then last but not least, we can give it away. We can give it to a good cause or a person in need. Now you look at this list, and none of these categories are bad, are they? I mean, if you own a home, your bank appreciates you spending money every month paying your mortgage. If you were here with me 2 weeks ago, you know I had my oldest son on stage with me, and he shared that a highlight of his summer this summer was getting a Nintendo Switch. Well, guess who bought my son the Nintendo Switch? We did. His mother and I did. You see, spending money on ourselves or our families, it's obviously not a bad thing. Obviously, saving money for our future, it's also a very good thing. And then I think all of us could agree that giving money away to a good cause is a good use of money. You see, the problem, it isn't with the categories of what we do with our money. The problem is with the order. You see, often this is the order in which we decide what we're going to do with our money. We will spend first, then save, and if there's anything left over, we'll give it away. You know, when we get paid or come into a little bit of money, we put it through this filter. We first think, you know, what do I need and what do I want? Second, what should I save for my future? And then maybe there's a little bit left and we give that away. You see, this filter, this mindset, it's what Andy Stanley calls me first living with some leftover giving. And the primary focus with this mindset is that our money is used on what I want. Let me explain it this way. When I started out in ministry, it was probably about 20 years ago, I worked part-time. Now, eventually, I would move, my part-time role became a full-time job. And at that point, my paycheck almost doubled. I went from making something like $20,000 a year to just about $40,000 a year. And back then, when those first few paychecks started rolling in, I had more money than I knew what to do with. And I can actually remember this thought. I remember thinking to myself, who would ever need more money than this? But guess what? Over the course of a few short months, you know who eventually needed more money? Me. Because the more I earned, the better I got at spending it. And it wasn't very long before I started thinking about how I could sure use a little bit more money. You see, what I've found over the years is that there are always more things I want than money I have. That's why Ecclesiastes 5:10 says, whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. You see, I doubt any of us would say, oh, I love money way too much, Andrew. But look at the definition here. You see, the writer says, if you go through your life feeling like you never have enough, if you're never satisfied with your income, the odds are you might have a blind spot in your life. And that's exactly what happened to this rich guy in our story. God comes to him in Luke 12, verse 20, and he says, you fool. He says, this very night, your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? And this is how it will be for whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God. You know, when I was younger and I would read this story, I always got the impression that God was mad at this guy. You know, just that the tone of God's voice was one of anger. But you know what? As I've gotten older, I realize God in this story, he isn't angry. He's heartbroken. See, God is heartbroken that someone can go through this world, a world where there is so much need, where there are so many hurting people, that someone can go through this world believing my money, it's just for me. You see, it's this idea that breaks God's heart. The other day, I was walking to Target with one of my kids, and out of the blue, this sweet, wonderful child of mine, he says to me, he says, Dad, I wish I was rich. Which was interesting to me because I was getting ready for this message and thinking about finances. And so I asked him, I said, why? And here's what he told me. He said, Dad, then I could buy whatever I want. Now for him, at age 6, that would be Pokemon stuff, video games, and ice cream. Now, you hear that from a 6-year-old and you laugh. But when you're 26 or 46 or 86 years old and you still live a life that reveals your focus is, I want to be rich so I can buy whatever I want, you see, that is heartbreaking. And it breaks God's heart. And so today what I want to do is I want to introduce just one practice, one thing you and I can do today that will create freedom and joy and give you a sense of peace in your life. And it's simply this: give first. Whenever you come into any sort of money, a paycheck, a refund from the IRS, when your grandma gives you $25 for your birthday, before you do anything else, give a percentage of it away. And here's what you'll experience. Over time, you will begin to see that my money, it isn't just meant for me. My money is meant for a mission. And I know this sounds crazy to give first, especially where we are today, living in a pandemic, especially with so many of us who are struggling financially with job loss and less income. But I'll tell you, this is how God has wired us up. You may not know this, but chemically, when you give money away, it triggers the release of oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins, and a handful of other chemicals that lead you to experience feelings of peace, joy, and fulfillment. Scientists, they call this the helper's high. And we experience this because this is the way God has wired us and our brains up to be. God has wired us to be givers. Now, going into this message this week, I had already written it. And the rest of this message, it was originally going to be simple ways that you and I, we can go through our week and we can practice generosity with our money and time. But then just a couple of days ago, God threw me a curveball. And what I want to do is I want to talk about something I believe God is asking us, you and me, to step into. See, many of you probably know that around here, we are passionate about serving and helping our local schools. And we have this great partnership with Pomona Elementary. And every semester I reach out to the principal and I ask the question, I say, if our church, if we could do anything to support your school and community in one way, what would it be? Many of you know this. Our schools are facing a huge challenge this year. They have been handed some lemons that they are desperately trying to turn into lemonade. They are starting online only, and the community where Pomona Elementary is, it has been disproportionately hit by job loss and income reduction due to COVID. And so I asked the principal over at Pomona, I said, how can our church help? And so she sent me this text. And what she said to me was, she said, Andrew, this is going to sound crazy, and this is a big request. And she began through text to tell me the story. She told me about how this past spring that she would jump onto Zoom calls for her teachers and students. And what she observed was that often on the other side of her camera, on the other side of the computer screen, there would be a kid trying to listen and pay attention to the teacher, but sitting in the very same room as he would be or she would be. There would be 2 or 3 of their brothers or sisters also trying to be on their Zoom classes and calls at the same time. And then again, often in the very same room would be parents who would be on the phone for work or on their computer trying to get things done. And the principal told me, she said, Andrew, it was just chaos. Kids had a difficult time hearing teachers. Teachers couldn't hear students. It was brutal. And so she told me, she said, Andrew, if there was one thing the Crossing could do this year for Pomona Elementary, it would be to provide every student with noise-canceling headphones and a microphone. Here were her exact words to me. She said, many of our students aren't going to start the school year with a physical space of their own. But with a headset, we can make a mental space for them. And so I told her, I said, let me get back to it. And I think I may have said something like, let me pray about it. But in all actuality, I didn't need to pray about it because I knew deep down our money, our resources here at the Crossing are meant for a mission. And so very quickly I got back to her and I told her, we as a church, we're in. We will provide a headset for every kid at Pomona starting this fall. And so we found this great headset. In fact, I already got one right here. We have this great headset right here. They cost $25 each. And so I wanted to let you know, we as a church today, we have a mission over the next few weeks. And our mission is to provide a headset for all 500 kids at Pomona. And so today I want to invite you into partnering with me to use your money for a mission. Now, I've pitched this idea already to a few people, and I want to tell you, here are the first couple of questions, the most common questions I've gotten so far. So I had a couple of people, they asked me, they said, Andrew, why can't parents just buy the headset themselves? And here's the answer. It's because for many of these families, they are at a financial breaking point. They have already been hard hit by job loss and income reduction, and they don't have the margin for something like this. They need help. The second question I got asked by a couple people was they said, $25 seems like a lot for a headset, Andrew. Isn't there like a cheaper option we could get them? And the answer to that is yes. Yes, there is a cheaper option, but we want every kid to go into school this year. We want every kid to go in with a headset that they are proud of, that will maybe, just maybe, provide a little bit of excitement for them as they start the school year online. And we want to communicate a message to every student at Pomona. And these headsets, they will help us communicate the message that you matter. That as you start school this year, we're rooting for you, that you are worth a little extra sacrifice in our lives. In fact, this week, when I picked one of these up just to test it out, I let one of my kids try it on to make sure they were great. And I brought some pictures. This is my youngest, Keller. And I'll tell you, he put this on and instantly he was excited. I think the little microphone piece made him feel like a fighter pilot. But so he played with it for a few minutes on his computer. And then, right before we took it away from him, the headset, because obviously we're gonna sanitize this and give this also over to Pomona, he had this look on his face, this look right here. This just joyful smile. And I'll tell you, I look at this picture and I want every single kid this year who walks into the school year, I want every single one of them to have that look on their face, to know you matter. So I want to invite you to partner with us in making a difference at a local school this year. In fact, something that was just so encouraging to me, I was talking to a parent about this, and they told me they weren't just gonna buy one headset, but they were gonna buy a headset on behalf of every kid in their family. If you've been around our church for a little while and you've never given, maybe, just maybe, this is the moment. God is gonna ask you to jump in and use your resources to make a difference. Because today, we need your help. And for those of you who already give of your money, and I hope you know how grateful I am for each and every one of you. If you're able, maybe today God's gonna put it on your heart to go a little bit above and beyond, because $25, it could be a game changer for a kid going into this school year. And if you want to give, you can do that. You can go online to thecrossing.com/give, or you can use our app. You'll see there is a drop-down menu that you can use, and it's very simple to use. And you can give there, and you can know that your resources, your money, is making a difference. Now, I know some of you who are watching, maybe you're more skeptical by nature. And maybe you're thinking to yourself, maybe you've had some bad experiences with churches talking about money in the past, and maybe you're wondering to yourself, you're thinking, Andrew, was this whole message a ploy to get me to give to the Crossing? And if you're thinking that, I want you to hear my heart on this. I want you to hear me say this. You don't need to give here at the Crossing. In fact, there are a bunch of great charities. My wife and I, we go above and we give to charities outside of this place. In fact, if you shoot me an email at andrew@thecrossing.com, I will send you some great charities that you can start supporting of your resources. You see, my goal for you is not for you to give just to the Crossing. My goal is that you live a life knowing that your money is meant for a mission. That God has put you on this earth and entrusted you with resources to make a difference. In fact, towards the end of Jesus' life, Jesus told his closest followers in Mark 10:45, he says this. Jesus says, for even the Son of Man, that's Jesus. He says, for even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. You see, we give of our resources because God has given so much to us. If you want to be part of this opportunity and bless our friends at Pomona Elementary, our student pastor, Josh, he's going to come and give you some great next steps, help you walk through that. But you know what? Even as I read this verse, I just sense that maybe some of you, you're watching this and maybe you're new to faith or church, and you read this verse and you think to yourself, you know what? I have never experienced the love and grace of a God who sacrificed and served me. And so here's how we're gonna end this portion of our service today. In just a moment, I'm gonna pray. And I'm gonna pray for you because I know a lot of us, we are carrying some anxiety and stress around money. And I'm gonna pray that each and every one of us, that we take a step this week to trusting God. And then last and definitely not least, I'm going to pray for any of you who are newer to faith. And you're in a season right now where you want to experience the love and grace and forgiveness of a God who came to this earth to serve you and to serve me for the first time. And then after that, we're going to hear one song. And I love this song. It is Great Are You, Lord, because it is a declaration that you and we have a God who is so good and so great that he is with us every single day. And then hang with us to the very end, because you're going to get more information about how you can be part of making a difference today in serving a local school. So let me pray, and then we'll continue with our service. And so God, we come before you and we say thank you. God, we thank you for this time this weekend together. We thank you because you are a good and gracious God. And God, I know many of us, we come into this weekend and we got worry and we got fear and anxiety. And this idea of give first, to entrust you every time to a piece of our resources, it sounds scary. And it provokes some anxiety in us. And so God, I pray that you give us a spirit of courage this week. God, I pray that you stir in our hearts. God, I pray for 500 people today to step up and give just $25 to provide a great experience for every kid at Pomona Elementary. God, use us and remind us that our money is made for a mission, not just for me, not just for us. And then last, God, we come before you today, and God, I want to pray on behalf of every person today who is brand new to faith and who just right now in their heart says, you know what, I need to experience your love and forgiveness, Jesus. And so, God, we come before you and we thank you because you are a God who came to serve and not be served. You are a God who sacrificed everything for us. And for that, God, we are eternally grateful. And we pray this in your Son's name. Amen.
You give light, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Only you. You give light, you are love, you bring light to the darkness. You give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath. It's your and all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord, yes. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Come on. Great are you, Lord. All the earth and all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, it's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. Oh, you're so great, God.
Would you pray with me? God, thank you that you are good, that you are great, and that you love us and that you meet us no matter where we are at. Lord, for people on all walks of life that are doing well in their finances or that are struggling in this season, would they know and feel your presence? Would you meet them where they are, and would you help them take one more step to grow closer to you? We ask these things in your name. Amen. Hey, if you said yes to Jesus today, would you let us know? Send us a message on Facebook or email us at info@thecrossing.com. We've got some great resources and easy next steps to support you in this life-changing decision. You know, The Crossing is making a difference every day of 2020. Thank you to all of you who have been giving to The Crossing and are the ones that make it possible. Your ongoing giving is changing lives and helping people in big ways throughout our community. And like you heard Andrew say, we have a special above and beyond giving opportunity this month with our partner school, Pomona Elementary, to give each of those 500 kids their own headset for virtual learning. We want these kids to grow up with a good education and the knowledge that God is looking out for them through their local church. You know, I have a daughter, and I hope she grows up with moments like these where her faith grows because a stranger was moved by God to help her in some way. And I want to do that for a student this week. It would be a $25 well spent. So, TC, we are going to ask that you would participate in showing how generous God is through our generosity. That $25 for a headset can help a child focus, they can hear their teacher, and be heard. You see, many of the families of Pomona have multiple kids doing virtual learning. They're trying to pay attention to their teachers on separate Chromebooks, all in the same room, and it can be just mayhem. So with this gift, we give them a chance to learn and focus every single day. It's easy to give through the Crossing app. It'll be on the very first page, or you can give on our website, thecrossing.com, on the front page there, and there's also going to be a direct link in the description of this video. We're going to encourage you to check back every couple days just to see that counter go up so you can see how many headsets we are able to buy. So to remember, $25 buys one headset, and we're going to go for all 500 students at Pomona. We are going to make this happen, and we are excited because it's going to be because of you that gets to occur. Now, finally, a couple fun things that we want you to know about so you can participate where you feel comfortable. See, while the Crossing services are going to remain online for the rest of the summer, we are also planning something fun on our campus each Sunday in August. For those of you who are wishing we could get together in person, this is going to be just for you. Next Sunday, August 16th, we will open our plaza and amphitheater for a watch party of the 9:15 a.m. service. It's basically like a little movie in the park. We will have chairs, or you can bring your own, and we can watch the service together outdoors on our campus. And August 25th, 23rd, we're going to have a water play day brought to you by our TC Kids ministry. Email our children's pastor, Tony Johnson, to register. You can email him at tjohnson@thecrossing.com. And on August 30th, we're going to be celebrating baptisms. So if you've said yes to Jesus and haven't had a chance to be baptized yet, this is your time. Email info@thecrossing.com and we'll get you all the information plugged in there so you can make sure that you can participate in that. Now, finally, we would love to see you at one of our outdoor gatherings, and we will continue to see you online each weekend and throughout the week. So make sure that you follow us on social media so we can stay connected throughout this entire year. We love you all very much. Have a great day.